थँक्यू सदगीर सर. सर्वांचं पुन्हा स्वागत करतो मी. आज खरं तर IWW चा स्थापना दिन म्हणजे फाउंडेशन दिन त्यानिमित्त आज आपण कोल्हे सरांचं लेक्चर ठेवलेलं आहे आणि कार्यक्रमही आपण सेलिब्रेट करतोय. IWW ची स्थापना 1968 साली झाली. त्याची सर्वांनाच कल्पना आहेच. भिसे साहेबांनी एक खरं तर ही एक छोटस एक बीज ते लावलं होतं. त्यानंतर आज जवळजवळ 32 प्लस म्हणजे जवळ 50 वर्ष होऊन गेलेले आहेत. त्याच्यानंतर त्याचा एक चांगला वृक्ष सारखं रूपांतर झालेलं आहे. आपण जर पाहाल की देशभरामध्ये साधारण 35 सेंटर आहेत IWW चे आणि एक 11,000च्या आणि आपण सगळेजण साक्षीदार आहोत. त्याचप्रमाणे आपण सर्वजणही चांगला प्लॅटफॉर्म उपलब्ध करून दिलेला आहे किंवा झालेला आहे. आता खरं तर IWW चे जे काही वेगवेगळे सेंटर आहे म्हणजे पुणे सेंटर असो त्याच्यासह देशभरातले जे इतर 34 सेंटर आहेत सर्वांमार्फत पाणी ह्या विषयावर वेगवेगळे कार्यक्रम आणि उपक्रम IWW च्या माध्यमातून राबवले जातात. सध्याच्या कोविड परिस्थितीमुळे याच्यावर बऱ्यापैकी बंधनं आलेली आहेत, पण तरी सुद्धा ऑनलाईन वेबिनारच्या माध्यमातून पुणे सेंटर असो वा इतर सेंटर असो सर्वांचे बऱ्यापैकी कार्यक्रम सुरू आहेत. सॉरी थोडासा डिस्टर्बन्स होतो कारण हॉस्पिटल मध्ये आहे. आता आपण जर पुणे सेंटरचा विचार केला तर आपला शेवटचा जो कार्यक्रम झाला COP मध्ये आपण कर्डिले सरांचं लेक्चर घेतलं होतं. आणि त्यानंतर आपण जलदिन माननीय राजेंद्र सिंगजी जलपुरुष त्यांच्या उपस्थितीमध्ये आणि पुणे कमिशनरच्या उपस्थितीमध्ये आपण जलदिन साजरा करणार आहोत. नंतर दुर्दैवाने कोविडची परिस्थिती निर्माण झाली आणि त्यामुळे आपल्याला तो कार्यक्रम घेता नाही आला. परंतु आपण सर्वांनी त्या परिस्थितीमध्येही ऑनलाईन वेबिनारची सिरीज सुरू केली आणि आपण बऱ्यापैकी त्यामध्ये लेक्चर्स घेतलेले आहेत. आजही आपण फाउंडेशन दिनाच्या निमित्तानं जलसंपदा विभागाचे अधीक्षक अभियंता अत्यंत कार्यक्षम आणि हुशार त्यांना मी ओळखतो वेगवेगळ्या माध्यमातून. आज त्यांचं आपण लेक्चर ठेवलेलं आणि सर्वजणांना त्याचा चांगला लाभ होईल असं मला वाटतं. तर पुन्हा एकदा सर्वांचं स्वागत करतो आणि सदगीर सर.
Now I request our Vice Chairman, Sri Dr. Dayanand Panse sir, to talk about today's Foundation Day and the work of the Bishe sir, our founder president. Over to Panse sir.
Thank you, Durval Sahib. Thank you, Dr. Parag Sadgir. I again welcome all Indian Water Works Association members and those who are not members who are present today for this lecture series, which has been initiated since last couple of months. I am very happy that today we are having this one of the lecture on a very grand day for Indian Water Works Association, because today is 10th October and it is now this is the foundation day of our association. Actually, the foundation day happens to be the birthday of our founder, that is Dr. D.R. Bise. Normally people always say 10-10-10. So 10th October 1910 had been his birth date. So it was in 90s, somewhere in 90s, it was decided that we will mark this day as our foundation day. I tried my level best to find out in which year exactly it was declared that today will be celebrated as the foundation day. Some people say that this is the founders day, but now it is almost a routine word that this is our foundation day. So, anyways, we are very happy that we are gathering here today. Morning also we gathered at our office place, and then we paid our homage to Dr. Bise. We are really grateful to him. It was in 1968, precisely on 30th August 1968, the IWWA got registered under Societies Registration Act of Mumbai province of Maharashtra state. In the extraordinary general body meeting of 17 May 1968, Dr. Bise mooted a proposal of a special resolution to constitute the association on the basis of the association's constitution of British Waterworks Association. So, as we see that we have a lot of influence of other associations on Indian Waterworks Association, and this is what exactly had happened. The signatories of this historical memorandum of articles of the association, which was made in 1968 August, were the late Dr. D.R. Bise, then late A.R. Kanga, then Soli Arsiwala, late N.W. Mirchandani, late S.P. Unwala, and late Mr. M.K. Gokhale, and late K.R. Konkankar. These were the signatories when the association was constituted and registered. We always say that Dr. Bise had been the Bhishmacharya of Indian Waterworks Association. Along with Dr. Bise, then Mr. Daigude, who was his trusted friend, come advisor, he then further shaped up the future of IWWA in a grand company of other stalwarts. As I said, Dr. Kanga, then Mr. Khare, Unwala, Haribhau Chavan, S.S. Mankar, Mr. V.D. Desai, Mr. M.L. Shah, Mr. Mahavir Shah, late V. Raman, and after whom we have started the lecture series in the conventions. Then S.R. Shirsagar, Mr. Sigaye, Arvind Bhai Doshi, late Natarajan, C.E.S. Rao from Bangalore, Mr. Venugopalan and Mr. Sudarshan from Chennai. Then, with the lead of Mr. Daigude, Mr. Shirsagar and Mr. Sigaye, the late Dr. J.N. Kardile, who donated his entire royalty to IWWA from his patents on crust coconut dual media water filtration technology. And from this funding, Dr. A.G. Bole, Dr. A.D. Patwardhan, and late T.S. Yorwala, they started various publications and technical manuals, which became reference guides for all the design criteria and designs of several projects, waterfall projects in India. With their strenuous efforts, which were spearheaded by Dr. Sidhe and others who were from Mumbai Municipal Corporation, and our good rapport with the offices of the late Commissioner of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, D.M. Suktankar, association got a lease land at Wakola, Santa Cruz, where our today's headquarters office is situated. And the office was inaugurated in 20th October in 1988 on the auspicious day of Dashara at the hands of Chief Secretary of Government of Maharashtra. So these are all historical moments, and it's not that I was a witness to all these moments. I gathered this, and then I got the all these narrations from our senior member of the Pune Center, Mr. Mahulkar. So I'm just trying to make you all aware what has been the history of IWA so far. Then in 1978 convention, Mr. Khare, he brought the president of International Water Association. That time it was known as International Water Supply Association. The president was Van der Ween from Netherlands. And he was there at the convention. Mr. Khare was the first honorary member of IWSA. He was given this honorary membership in 1980 and then become the era of international associations between IWWA and many other country associations. Arvind Bhai Doshi, then he later took up from Mr. Kanga and then Unwala and other people. And then he increased the ties with many other associations world over. In 1984, Arvind Bhai was also invited by IWA as the chairman of Committee of Cooperation of Developing Countries, and Mr. C.S. Rao also there present. So these are the some moments which we always cherish. And then another significant was that in 1986, Mr. Arvind Bhai Joshi and then C.S. Rao, they proposed to UN to declare one of the day as World Water Day, which subsequently unanimously was accepted in 1994 at the International Conference in Argentina, and 22nd March was declared as World Water Day. Mr. Unwala was very instrumental in following up this resolution on behalf of India, and again with enormous efforts of Unwala to the platform of IWWA, it was finalized. And again, very historical moment for our members that Dr. Madhurao Chethare, he received Stockholm Water Prize after that. So these are all the moments which we all should remember, and we should thrive upon to see that our association attains higher goals who were set by these pathbreakers or these stalwarts of the sector, all the professionals. And then with this, I would like to hand it over back to Dr. Parag Sadgir to continue with the today's lecture program. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak on this very auspicious day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Due to you only, we are able to get all this information, as you have taken the efforts to collect all the information, because many of the members don't know about these particular details from 1968 till today. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to introduce our today's speaker, Mr. Praveen Kolle, sir. He has completed his graduation in 2004 in civil engineering. Afterward, he has completed his MTech transportation engineering from IIT Kanpur in 2007, and he has done the executive MBA also from IIM Indore in 2014, and now he has registered for PhD in IIT Mumbai in Sitara. So he is continuously trying to gain the knowledge from the various field. Even if he is working in the field from 2004, then also he is continuously eager to acquire the knowledge from the various fields. And presently he is working at Pune Irrigation Project Circle as a superintending engineer in Water Resources Department. He is handling the responsibility of the construction of the water irrigation infrastructure, including dams, canals, piped irrigated networks, small hydropower schemes. And he is maintaining his own website also to guide the aspiring students for the various examinations. And he is continuously giving the various updated information about the civil engineering on his website. And he is continuously guiding to the students as well as the various engineers also. So I request him to share his ideas and views about the principle of water management in Maharashtra and practical aspect. Over to Kolle, sir. Rishikesh, kindly share his slides.
Sir. So today, Honorable Chairman Sri Subhash Bhujbal sir, Vice Chairman Dayanand Panse sir, Coordinator Sri Parag Sadgir sir, and Secretary of this association Sri K.N. Patil sir, and all the distinguished members of the association, a very warm good afternoon to all. So today we will discuss about the principles of water management and practical aspects. And before starting my presentation, let me express best wishes to all the members and office bearers of Iowa on this Foundation Day celebration. So thank you, sir. I hope I am audible and you can see the
Yes.
as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You continue.
Okay. Yes. So, sir, we will discuss the in my presentation. We will start with the water scenario in Maharashtra. So we will discuss about the water availability. So we all know that our 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. Out of that, only 3% is fresh water, and out of that 3%, only 0.3% is the surface water, and out of that 0.3%, only 2% water is available in our rivers. So coming to Indian scenario, India receives only 4% water, and its quantity is about 4,000 billion cubic meter, but of which available quantity is 1,869 BCM. But of this, we can utilize only 60% of that. So we can utilize 690 BCM from surface water and 433 BCM from groundwater. And on this water, about 2.5% land and 17.5% of population of this world is dependent. So you can see only 4% water and 17% population. Coming to Maharashtra state scenario, our state is only 4% water. Whatever water is available in our country, only 4% of that belongs to Maharashtra. And of which we will discuss in the next slide that there are various river dispute tribunals. So we cannot utilize all the water which is available in our state. So because of this constraint, we can utilize only 77% of water which is available in our state. And on this water, about 10% land and 10% population of India is dependent. We will discuss some facts related to our state. First, its area is about 30.77 million hectare. Interestingly, this area is about 10% the area of our country, and this is area equivalent to the country Italy. Second important factor which contribute a state is a population. Our population is about 115 millions, which is also 10% of the country's population. And this population is similar to the population of Mexico country. Third important aspect of the state is its income, gross domestic product. The state has gross domestic product of $370 billion US, which is about 15% of the total country's GDP, and this is a GDP of UAE country. And last important factor is water availability. In terms of water, we receive only 4% water, and this water is equivalent to the water available in the United Kingdom. So if you see all these four aspects, we will realize that managing a state like Maharashtra is equivalent to manage a country like Italy, Mexico, or UAE or UK. Coming to our Maharashtra state, in terms of water management, we should understand the concept of river basin. So in Maharashtra, basically there are 6 basins, but from a hydrology perspective, we rely on the 5 important river basins. So in this slide, you will see the 5 river basins. The first river basin is the Krishna basin, which is very important basin, which contains only 13% water. So whatever water is available in our state, out of that 13% is available in Krishna basin. Second biggest basin is the Godavari basin. It has 27% water. Third basin is the Tapi basin, which has only 4% water. Fourth basin is the Narmada basin, which has very small percentage of water, which is a 0.1%. And all these 4 basins contribute 45% water, and there is 92% cultivable land. So on one hand, we have 45% water, but 92% cultivable land. So rest 55% water is available in the west flowing rivers in the Konkan. So all these rivers contribute about 55% water, and which has a dependency of only 8% of cultivable land. So you can see the disparity of water availability across river basin. So I will not go in details of the each basin because water is not available in uniformly across spatial and temporal jurisdiction, but we will discuss some aspect of this. So if we summarize, if there are 6 river basin, and out of these 6 river basin, the average annual water availability is about 5,790 TMC, and 75% dependable yield is 4,650 TMC, but permissible water use as per various tribunal award is about 4,450 TMC. And in case of Krishna river basin, we can utilize only 594 TMC of water in any hydraulic year. Coming to important aspect, so water is required for various activities, like what is needed for agriculture purpose, it is required for industrial purpose, as well as it is required for the domestic purpose. If we see the worldwide water use, the 70% water is used in agriculture sector, 22% water is used in industrial sector, and only 8% water is used in domestic sector. If we compare this water distribution with low and middle income countries, so India belongs to middle pie chart. So in case of low and middle income countries, about 82% water is used in the agriculture sector, because we are growing economy and our base is agriculture. 10% water is used in industries and 8% is used in domestic. But if we compare this water consumption with the high income countries like United States, then about 59% of water is used in industrial sector. Only 30% water is used in agriculture sector and 11% water is used in domestic sector. So as we urbanize or as we develop, our water consumption will shift from agriculture to industry or domestic purpose. For our state, for our Maharashtra state, the water use is matching with the report published by the UNESCO. That is 82% water is consumed in irrigation sector, 13% water is used for drinking purpose, and rest water is used for the industrial purpose. So why we are managing a water? Because water is a state subject. As per our constitution, India is a union of states with state and central government in power. And as per 7th schedule, list 2, the water is a state subject. So water, including irrigation and canal, drainage and embankments, water storage and water power is a state subject. Whereas if that river is an interstate river, then these become a central subject. So if we are planning an irrigation project or any water resource project, so that the completion of that project as well as management of that project belong to the state government. So as far as administrative structure is concerned, we have 3-tier structure. At highest level, there is a Ministry of Water Resources. Now it is known as the Jal Shakti Mantralaya, Government of India, who perform the task of policy makings and also handles the interstate rivers matters and interstate projects matter. At middle level, there is a state government which has water resource department as well as groundwater board as well as there are various agencies which will be discussed in the next slide. And at the lower end, we have local self-government. So after constitutional amendment, the irrigation projects having irrigable command area up to 100 hectares are managed by the local self-governments like Jilla Parishad. So we have 3-layer administrative structures in terms of management of water. So there are many agencies involved in water resource management. So we will discuss these agencies in very brief. So as far as surface water is concerned, we have Water Resources Department, which manages the projects which are having irrigable command area more than 600 hectares. Then we have Water Conservation Department, which manages projects having irrigable command area up from 100 hectare to 600 hectare. And as we discussed, we have Jilla Parishad Irrigation Department, which manages irrigation project having command area less than 100 hectare. Then we have Agriculture Department, which construct agriculture ponds, also execute water conservation works. Then we have very big private lifts, which are constructed by the sugar factories for irrigation purpose. Then in forest area, Forest Department also constructs some small dams or ponds. Then we have MJP, MIDC, CIDCO Corporation, which manage drinking as well as industrial water supply. And we also have private companies like Tata Power, who manage about 54 TMC water every year in our state for hydropower generation purpose. In terms of groundwater, we basically have groundwater board, and these wells are the private and open wells are managed by the farmers. Coming to the Water Resource Department, as we discussed, this department execute the project. Earlier, the limit was 250 hectare, but after the Water Conservation Department is in force, this limit was raised to the 600 hectares. So the projects are classified based on the irrigable command area. So we have 3-layer classification. So the highest level is a major project. So it is a very big project which irrigate command area more than 10,000 hectare. In our state, there are 28 completed projects and 66 ongoing projects. So there are 94 major projects in our state. Second classification is a medium projects, which has command area more than 2000 hectare and less than 10,000 hectare. So in our state, there are 188 medium projects which are completed and 82 ongoing projects. So 270 are total medium projects in our state. And then there are minor projects which are having irrigable command area less than 2000 hectare up to 600 hectare. And there is a number of projects lying in this category. So if we summarize, in our state, there are 3,203 completed projects and 359 ongoing projects, and total number of projects is 3,562. If we look into the history of irrigation management or water management, then we will realize that our state is blessed with the very rich history in irrigation. So there is a Bara Motechi Vihir located at Satara, as well as Malguzari tanks in Bhandara, Vidarbha area. So water is being supplied for irrigation purpose mainly through tanks as well as well. Since most of our state lies in the Deccan Plateau terrain, so it is very difficult to construct a well. Also, there were no equipments, sophisticated equipment to lift the water from the underground for the irrigation purpose. But still, we had some wells which are being used for the irrigation purpose. So after British came in our state, they started constructing very huge irrigation infrastructure. Yes, and these irrigation infrastructure they executed during the timeline 1885 to 1930. So in Pune itself, we have Nira system, Khadakwasla system. In Nasik, we have Godavari irrigation system, and these are huge irrigation systems which constitute a dam as well as canal. So why Britishers decided to go for such complicated system, we will discuss in the next slide. Then what Britishers do, they constructed very huge dams in the Sahyadri Valley, Sahyadri mountain region, and they constructed hundreds of kilometers of canal and water aqueducts to carry this water into the drought-prone area. After independence, that is after 1947, the state was very aggressive in construction of many irrigation projects. So we executed Uzni project, Jaikwadi project, Gosikur project. In Pune itself, we executed many projects. If we see at the national level, the Maharashtra is a #1 state having highest number of dams. So Maharashtra has about 36% of dam, and second state is the Madhya Pradesh, which is having only 17%, only half of the dams which Maharashtra has. So you can see that there are maximum dams we had constructed in our state. Still, there is a disparity between the water availability and water supply. So we will discuss various aspects in the next slide. So water resources in Maharashtra, we will have a very big picture. In our state, as we already mentioned, the geographical area, topographical area is about 307 lakh hectare. But out of that, cultivable area is 225 lakh hectare, because there are forests, there are mountains, there are urbanized area. So we can irrigate only 225 lakh hectare area, that is 73% of the gross geographical area. But we have limited water availability. As we discussed earlier, we have only 4% water and 10% land. So from water availability perspective, so it has been estimated by the Water and Irrigation Commission report, which was headed by the Dr. Madhavrao Chitale, that using surface water, we can irrigate only 85 lakh hectare area. And also state is blessed with the groundwater, which will irrigate 41 lakh hectare. So out of 225 lakh hectare, only 126 lakh hectare will be irrigated by surface water as well as groundwater. And rest, about 99 lakh hectare will be irrigated by rainfed irrigation. So that this is the disparity between the number of dams we have and the actual irrigation in our state. So potential created. So state had created irrigation potential of 50 lakh hectares. So our surface water irrigation target is 85 lakh hectare. Till date, we had reached about 51 lakh hectare. So we have to execute the irrigation projects which will irrigate about 35 lakh hectare additional area. Then potential utilized in 2 years ago is 40 lakh hectare, because whatever potential we had created, there are many issues. We cannot irrigate entire potential because of many issues which we will discuss in due course. The percentage of irrigation potential created with respect to total cultivable area is only 22%. Since these figures are in front of you, you can realize that the total cultivable area is 225 lakh hectare and we are irrigating only 50 lakh hectares. This percentage is only 22%. And percentage of irrigation potential utilized with respect to irrigation potential created is 80%. So after having a very big picture, we will discuss various principles of water management and we will discuss how irrigation project is planned and executed. So it is a very important slide, and this slide gives a view about the topography of our state. So as we know, if we take a cross section of our state from east to west, on westward side we have Sahyadri mountain ranges, whose level above the sea level is about 650 meter, and this region is categorized or characterized by very high rainfall zone. So rainfall volume is very huge, that is about 5 meter rainfall happens in this place. Then we have intermediate area where we had our drainage system where rainfall is about 800 millimeter to 1200 millimeter. And on the other side, on the eastward side, the terrain is very flat and we have cultivable land, and rainfall in this area is very low, that is in the magnitude of 300 to 600 millimeter, and reduced level of this area is about 500 to 600 millimeter. So that's why what British engineers did, they constructed all the dams in Sahyadri Valley. They stored the water, and we falls in a tropical zone, so we receive rainfall only during monsoon period, only 3 months in a year, and we are supposed to store the water which falls on the ground during these 3 or 4 months, and this water is required to be used during entire years. So they constructed dams, canals, lift after independence we had constructed lift irrigation systems, and through these systems we transferred the water from Sahyadri ranges to the flat terrain, which is a drought prone area of the Maharashtra. So in order to understand the irrigation projects and its principle, it is required to understand the typical layout of irrigation projects. So how irrigation projects look like. So suppose there is a river and there are tributaries which are joining this to these rivers. So there may be some additional new rivers or nalas which are joining to this river. Then mostly civilization happens alongside of the rivers or where water source is available. So what happens? Suppose we construct any dam or any barrier which abrupt the flow of the river. Then what happens? Some area goes under submergence. So because of this submergence, it is required to rehabilitate the village situated alongside of the river. So rehabilitation is the important part. Land acquisition and rehabilitation, these are two important parts of the construction. Coming to technical side, we have spillway where we will release the excess water. Then we have earthen embankment. Then we have right bank head regulator. So for releasing water from dam to the canal, we have head regulator. So many dam has two canals. So we have right head regulator as well as left canal head regulator. Then we have canal network. Suppose that canal passes through the right side of the river, then it is known as the right bank canal, and it has a command area. And if command area is only on one side, it is known as a contour canal. And if command area is on both the side of the canal, then it is known as a ridge canal. From main canal, the distributary emerges. From distributary, there is a minor. From minor, there is a sub-minor. And from sub-minor, there is an ultimate field where water is supplied. So water is stored in the dam, which is conveyed through main canal, distributary, minor, sub-minor, field channel, and ultimately it reaches to the farmer's land. And after irrigation, whatever excess water the land has, it is required to be drained out in a appropriate location, maybe in the river or nala. And we also have lift irrigation scheme and hydropower schemes. So these all encompasses the water resources project. So how project planning is done? So most of the dams in our state are constructed for irrigation purpose. So this is a very important statement. As per hydrological data, the yield was assured and standard deviation was less. So If you see the yield at Bhadgar Dam or Khadakosla Dam, you will realize that there is very little variation in the annual yield. Hence, planning was done in order to store 75% dependable yield. So it has been, from economical perspective, 75% dependable yield is stored in our dam. Flood was not a big concern during planning stage. So before 50 years, flood was not a big concern. But now, due to climate change effect, it is a very big concern for us. But project do not have any flood storage capacity, because in earlier period, hydrological data shows that there is no extreme floods and recurring floods. So provision for partial flood mitigation is done through gate operation and reservoir operation schedules. This is very challenging situation, as there is a dilemma between full storage for a yearly water use vis-a-vis flood security. So irrigation engineer or water gate operator, the dam manager, has to take a very crucial decision whether to spill out the incoming water or to store the water. So because if he spills out the water and next storm does not come, then it will become very tricky situation, because in next slide we will discuss how water is required by each of the sector and how it is demanded. In planning, while planning a irrigation project, only 15% provision is made for drinking water purpose. So what are the basic purpose for convincing a water resource project? So there are multifaceted purpose. First important purpose is to provide drinking or domestic water for irrigation purpose, for industries, for hydropower and flood. So in our state, most of the irrigation projects are constructed for irrigation and hydropower purpose. So the industrial development, as well as increase in the urbanization or increase in the requirement of the drinking water purpose, or the necessity of flood protection, these are the constraint, because in planning phase these are not considered to the extent it is required as of now. So this is one of the very lacuna in the planning of the system. So project planning is done keeping in view both sides, that is the supply side and as well as demand side. So from supply side, we get water from rainfall. So from rainfall, we get runoff, and that is our yield. Also, there is a important another source is known as a recycled water. So this is a very important source, because in future, most of the urbanization has to rely on the recycled water. And on demand side, there are various players, for example, irrigation, drinking water purpose, industrial use, evaporation and hydropower. So these are the important players on the demand side. So how irrigation planning is done for rotational water supply, I will very briefly explain in this slide. So basically what we do, we survey a command area, we calculate crop water requirement at root zone, and we apply various efficiencies so that we get the canal capacities. So in this figure, I will discuss that. Suppose this is a check. Suppose this is the area of 10 hectare area. So whatever crop we will be growing on this land, it will have definite cropping pattern. It will have crop water requirement. Based on that cropping pattern and crop water requirement, we will arrive at the water required at the chuck head. Then we have field channel. We will calculate the whatever the losses in the field channel. Then we have minor, then distributary, main canal, and ultimately we have dam. So once crop water requirement at root zone is calculated, we will compute the discharge required at the outlet of the chuck. Then we will compute the discharge required at field channel using capacity factor. Then we will calculate the discharge required at minor head using efficiency of that minor. Again, using efficiency of distributary, we will calculate the discharge required at the distributary head. And finally, we will get the discharge required at the canal head. So what happened, many big canals are designed keeping in view this system. But what happens, for example, if you take an example of Nira Left Bank Canal, the water supply of Baramati Nagarpalika is source on this Nira Left Bank Canal. So while designing that canal, this requirement was not considered. So that's why carrying capacity of that canal is quite low as compared to the present need. So this is also one of the factor for the deficiency in the system. So conventional canal system has many components. So we have dam, then main canal, which is uptaking from the dam, and then we have branch. So technically, this classification is based on the discharge, then distributary, minor, field channel, outlet. So, and this is very interesting slide. So nowadays we are, the state had adopted a policy of implementation of pipe distribution network instead of canal distribution network. So in this slide, we will discuss how much water will be saved by implementing this PDN strategy. So suppose this is the main canal, branch canal, distributary and field channel, minor and field channel. Then the total project efficiency is calculated based on the efficiency of field application efficiency, field channel efficiency and main canal efficiency. Generally, these efficiencies are 70%. So total, in case of entire canal distribution network system, the total efficiency is about 34%. If we convert field application instead of flow irrigation, if we use sprinkler, then our efficiency will increase to 42%. Instead of sprinkler, if we use drip irrigation, our efficiency will be 50%. But so total efficiency will be 34 to 50%. But if we convert our minor as well as field channel, then our efficiency will increase to 59% for drip irrigation. Then if we replace entire branch canal, distributary as well as field canal, then our efficiency will be increased to 68%. And if we increase entire infrastructure below main canal, then our efficiency will be 77%. And finally, the ideal situation, if we replace entire system into PDN, and if we use field application by flow irrigation, then our efficiency is about 59%. If we use sprinkler, our efficiency will be 74%. And if we use drip, then our efficiency will be 89%. So in Pune district itself, we have Gunjaun irrigation project, which is based on, which is entirely designed on as a PDN, a pipe distribution network, and its efficiency is about 85%. So the principles of water management. So we discuss about how project is conceived, how canal capacity is arrived at, and how PDN is also designed. So how water management is done, we will discuss in the upcoming slides. So let's understand the legal provisions. So in Maharashtra, canal operation is governed by State Water Policy 2019. Then we have Maharashtra Irrigation Act 1976 and Bombay Canal Rules 1935. Through this act, water is supplied to the individual farmers based on area and crop. And water user associations are formed under Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act 1960, and water is supplied to this WUA on volumetric basis. Then we have PWD Handbook Chapter 25, which is dedicated for irrigation and irrigation management. The 2005 was the milestone year for the department, in which department enacted two legislation: Maharashtra Management of Irrigation System by Farmers Act, in which water is supplied only to water user association, and water will be supplied on volumetric basis. And then we have MWRA Act 2005, and there are various government resolutions, circulars, etc. So this is the legal jurisdiction of the water management. So water management is done as per the provisions of water made in the project report. So whatever provision are made in the project report, those are strictly followed while allocation of water is made during a hydraulic year. Water allocation for irrigation, domestic and industrial water use is done in a project report. When project report is prepared, this allocation is made. This allocation may be changed by government, and water may be diverted from irrigation purpose to non-irrigation purpose only after request from concerned agency is received. For example, MJP approach to the government that we require this much quantum of water for this much this purpose, then government can sanction the diversion from irrigation to non-irrigation purpose. So irrigation management, the field officer of the rank of executive engineer and superintending engineer prepare annual preliminary irrigation program, which shows a roadmap of irrigation management for that year. Then this report or this program is discussed in Canal Advisory Committee, and number of rotations are finalized. Then this program is implemented by our field staff. This, and after implementation, there is an office located at Aurangabad which carry out the audit of the water use efficiency. And finally, there is a MWRA, the highest quasi judicial authority which regulate entire activities in the water management domain. So now we will discuss very briefly about the water management cycle. So how water is really managed at field. So as we discussed, there are 6 activities. First activity, this water management start with the preparation of preliminary irrigation program. Then we conduct a meeting of canal advisory committee. Then we plan for rotation. We execute rotation. There are some activity which are required to be carried out after irrigation rotation is completed, and then we prepare completed irrigation program. So every year the irrigation system goes through these 6 steps. So what is preliminary irrigation program? So in Maharashtra, yearly water planning is done as per government resolution dated 7th March 2001. This is very important circular, and in this circular it is directed that all the irrigation projects shall have to carry all the executive engineer and superintending engineer shall carry out the exercise of the preparation of PIP for each project. And there are guidelines given for the normal year as well as for deficit year. So this is very important in terms of the impacts of the climate change are very adverse, and there might be some deficit year. So how water will be managed in the deficit year, this is mentioned in this GR. Then PIP shall be prepared for every season. So there are three season: Kharif season, Rabi season, and hot weather season. And for every season, PIP has to be prepared and it should be approved by the superintending engineer. The water allocation is made based on the directives of state water plan, state water policy, considering the priorities of water use. So water use priorities are mentioned in the state water policy. Then we have a legal obligation in terms of water entitlements. Then we have non-irrigation agreements and demand for drinking water supply. So everything need to be considered while preparing a preliminary irrigation program. So in the next slide, we will discuss a case study of NIRA irrigation system, how this PIP is prepared and how it is executed. So this is a index map of the NIRA system. So this is looking very simple, but in the next slide, we'll discuss how complex this system is. So this is a Google map. So on this Google map, you will see the Pune. Then there is a Satara at bottom, and this is a national highway connecting Pune and Satara. And on this national highway, there is a village, there is a taluka known as a Bhor taluka. Through Bhor taluka, important river passes, which is known as the Nira river. Then there are 4 important tributaries of this Nira river. First tributary is Vedavandi river, which joins to the Nira river at Bhor. Second important tributary is the Gunjavni river, which also joins to the Nira river in Bhor taluka. And there is a Kara river which joins to Nira river in Baramati taluka. So on the Edwandi dam, so in a British period, they constructed Bhadgar dam. In 1885 to 1830, they constructed this Bhadgar dam on Edwandi river, just before confluence of Edwandi to the Nira. So they constructed this dam, Bhadgar dam, on Edwandi river. Then we have Veer dam on Nira river. This is the Veer dam, which is constructed on Nira river. It is constructed in 1960. Then we have Nazre dam, which is constructed on Kara river. We have Nira Devdar dam, which is constructed at the origin of the Nira river, just after origin of the Nira river. And recently we constructed Gunjavni dam on Gunjavni river. So this is a view of Gunjavni dam. So we have basically 5 important reservoirs on this Nira system, and water is supplied through this dam, and irrigation is carried out. Along with the dams, we have Kolhapuri type weirs. So on Kara river as well as on Nira rivers, there are number of Kolhapuri types weirs. So on Nira river, there are about 35 KT weirs. On Kara river, there are 19 KT weirs. So management has to done keeping in view the safety of this KT weir as well. So the canal work of the Nira Devdar dam is undergoing, as I mentioned, the execution of pipe distribution network of the Gunjawni Dam is in progress. Bhadgar Dam does not have any canal, so water is released from Bhadgar Dam, which is enter into the Nira River, and ultimately this water is supplied to the Veer Dam. So we can say that Bhadgar Dam is a secondary storage of the Veer Dam. So from Veer Dam, our irrigation starts. So from Veer Dam, we have 160 kilometer long Nira Lake, which was constructed in 1885. So in British period, this canal was constructed and water is supplied. So as I mentioned in the last slide, that all the dams are situated in the Sahyadri mountain region, where water, the rainfall is in the order of more than 5,000 millimeter. So where Veer Dam is constructed, the water rainfall is about 1,000 millimeter, and entire catchment area receives a rainfall about 500 millimeters. So water is supplied from this high abundance area to the drought prone area. So they constructed Nira Left Bank Canal, which is 153 kilometer long, which supply water in Purandar, Baramati, and Indapur Tahsil. And there is a complication that this canal also receives water from Khadakwasla canal. So there is a Sansar link canal, but practically this water does not get because of the issue of Pune Municipal Corporation. So this Sansar link canal is not activated. Water is not supplied through this. Then we have Nira Right Bank Canal, which is about 170 kilometer long. And after this 170 kilometer, we have 100 kilometer long Sangola branch canal. So you can imagine that the 260 kilometer long Nira Left Bank, Right Bank Canal. So through this canal, water is supplied to the Khandala Taluka of Satara district, Phaltan Taluka of the Satara district, and Malshiras, Pandarpur, and Sangola Taluka of the Solapur district. So you will realize that this the planning and execution of water resource project is carried out based on the basin as a unit and not a district as a unit or administrative region as a unit. This is a command area of the Nira Left Bank Canal, and you can see that there are at the end of Nira Left Bank Canal, Britishers constructed Shetpur Dam, which is a tail tank of the NLBC. So whenever there is excess water, whenever spillway is running, so water is fed in the Shetpur Canal, the Shetpur Dam, and we have then distributary, minor, sub-minor, branch, field channel, etc. And ultimately water is supplied through WUA, Water User Association, and there is also a network, and ultimately our farmer is there, for which this entire system is designed. So also there are approved lift irrigation schemes. So on the left side of the canal, there are lift irrigation schemes, which are private lifts. And apart from these irrigation networks, this canal provides water for drinking purpose for Baramati, Jejuri, and many Pandarpur, Malshiras, and most of the towns and cities, villages in this region. Then there are MIDCs and industries, Jejuri MIDC. Then we have sugar factories. There are many sugar factories. So water is supplied for sugar factories as well as their processing units, allied units. And also water is required for the palki. So whenever there is a palki, the water is required for the palki. So considering irrigation requirement, drinking water requirement, industries requirement, and cultural or religious requirement, everything we need to consider while preparing a PIP. So this is a just brief about the hectarage of the Nira Left Bank Canal as well as Nira Right Bank Canal. So in Kharif season, this PIP is prepared based on the storage on every dam on 1st July. In Rabi season, the PIP is prepared for the storage of 15th October, and for hot weather, the whatever storage available on all the dams on 1st March, the PIP is prepared, and water is supplied to the canal. For example, this is a PIP of Kharif Hangam. So you can see there are 3 dams, and total water storage capacity of these 3 dams is about 44 TMC, and there are 2 canals. So there is, as per project report, water is allocated to Nira Left Bank Canal as well as Nira Right Bank Canal. So as in Kharif season, about 6.5 TMC water is supplied or water is allocated to Nira Left Bank Canal and 10 TMC to the Nira Right Bank Canal. So in Kharif season, we utilize 17.35 TMC water in Kharif season. And the season-wide distribution of water allocation is given on this slide. In Rabi and hot weather season, so Rabi season starts on 15th October, and it is assumed that on 15th October all the storage will be at FRL. So fortunately, as we see today's rainfall, today is the 10th October. So this whatever runoff generates from this rainfall will be contributed, will enhance our storage capacity. So it will contribute in our planning. So in a NIRA system, we use 37 TMC of water in Kharif as well as Rabi hot weather season. Out of that, 23 TMC is used in the right bank canal and 13 TMC used in the left bank canal. And in Canal Advisory Committee, we allocate this water in each rotation. So in each season, there are number of rotations. So ideally, the rotation, there should be a rotation after every fortnight. So after every 15 days, there shall be rotation. So this is as per the project planning. So whatever project plan was prepared by the British engineers. So as per their plan, after every 15 days, this system should give a irrigation rotation. But because of there are number of constraints which will be, this time will be very critical. So I am not able to discuss the constraint of this system, but we can give only 2 rotations. So water is allocated in 2 rotation for the season, and when this canal will start and when this canal will close, and what will be the flow period of this canal, it is entirely discussed in the Canal Advisory Committee, and it is approved there. So rotation planning, as I discussed, it is based on the storage of dam on 15th October. Then we deduct evaporation loss from that. So whatever evaporation loss will occur, and this is a very big concern because about 20 to 25% of storage gets evaporated because of the sunlight. So whatever the evaporation, we will deduct that. Then we allocate water for each season. So whatever water is remained, which it will be distributed in various seasons. Then we will allocate water for each sector. That means for irrigation, for drinking water use, for industries, for environmental flow, for carryover, everything is planned in the next day. Then once we get a quantum of water to be irrigated in a given season, we will plan number of rotations for a given canal. Then we will propose start date of rotation, and we will prepare irrigation schedule. Then we will follow tail to head irrigation system. So when water is released into canal, ultimately initially water will reach to the tail part, so at the extreme part, and then from tail to head we will proceed. Then allocation of water to each distributory is done through water entitlement. Then this PIP is approved by the superintending engineer. Then we prepare a Shetpali Patrak. Shetpali Patrak means how water is allocated, how water sequence will be there. म्हणजे एका शेतकरी पाणी संपल्यानंतर कोण शेतकरी पाणी घेईल याचं जे शेड्यूल आहे त्याला आपण शेतपाळी पत्रक असं म्हणतो. Then we propose entire thing in front of Canal Advisory Committee. We discuss and we finalize this. And after this, we issue a public notice like shown in this slide, that we inform all the irrigators and all the concerned person that the number of rotations and the time of rotation, everything will be published in the newspaper. So participate. So I have mentioned many times, I have mentioned about the Canal Advisory Committee. So what is Canal Advisory Committee? Very briefly, I will explain in this slide. So on 18th March 2016, government issues a resolution that there will be a Canal Advisory Committee for each project. And what is terms of reference? So they will meet before every season. They will plan they will carry out a water planning for a year as well as for the season. They will also review the water planning as well as its execution for last season or last year. And they will recommend to the field officers the number of rotation and how water will be used for these for various sectors. Then they will discuss about irrigation potential created, irrigation potential utilized, conjunctive use of water, water entitlement, and water user association formation. And there are many issues. So what is the composition of Canal Advisory Committee? So for major projects, chairman is Honorable Minister, Water Resources, or Palak Mantri, or Honorable State Minister, and member secretary superintending that project. For medium irrigation project, chairman, concerned executive engineer, and concerned deputy engineer is a secretary, and for minor project the concerned deputy engineer is a chairman and concerned sectional officer as a member secretary. And there are members who, there are two types of member: official member, that is representatives from water resource department, revenue department, agriculture, water supply, MIDC department. So all the departments who consume water during a year are requested to attend this meeting. Then there are public representatives, that means various ministers of government of Maharashtra, government of India, MP, MLA, chairmen of sugar factory district, AMC, and water members of water user association. So this the canal advisory committee is a just like a mini cabinet in terms of irrigation issues, and this is a screenshot of the GR. So ultimately, when planning is done, so water is supplied to the field, and we have at field level we have organization which is headed by superintending engineer, who is in charge of that circle. Then we have executive engineer who manages more than 2 or 3 major projects. There are 20 to 25 medium projects, and it has area more than 60,000 hectares. Then we have deputy engineers, and ultimately the last level we have sectional officer. For supporting this, we have Daftar Karkun and measurers for record keeping. For vigilance, we have canal inspector. Then we have Sandeshak, and we have gate operator for canal gate operation. So once irrigation rotation is carried out, we compile all the details of the irrigation. We compile the area irrigated, the water use, what action we take on unauthorized irrigation. Then we prepare water audit report, benchmarking report, and irrigation status report. Then we prepare water assessment report and approve it. Water assessment report means it is a report compiling the water use by farmer and a receipt of revenue to be issued to the farmer. Then a recovery of water charges. So what is water charges is assets and what actually received, and carry out maintenance and repairs of canal. And this is the last slide of my presentation. So I had explained very briefly about the principles of canal irrigation and how water is supplied to the various stakeholders. But there are, as we discussed, there are many issues. First, as I mentioned, the planned rotation was once in 15 days, fortnight. But presently rotation is done at about interval of 2 months. And second constraint is the rotation, as per our rules, rotation is initiated once dam reaches more than 33%. Then we have to follow tail to head irrigation. There is a concern of cropping pattern, because when these projects are planned, these projects are not meant for the perennial crops. So basically, when Britishers planned the irrigation project, they are meant for the food security purpose, and they had 2 seasonal cropping pattern. But as we currently see, the cropping pattern has been shifted from 2 seasonal to a perennial, which requires very huge amount of water. And in order to supply that quantum of water, it becomes very difficult. So cropping pattern is very important factor in the success or failure of that irrigation system. Then we have very typical concept known as a ICA, CCA, GCA, which means that irrigable command area, culturable command area, gross command area. So what happened when Britishers carried out survey of the command area? So geographical command area means total gross command area under the irrigation system. Culturable means they assume that some land will be the Port Kharab land, for irrigation will not happen. But what happened, because of the tractor and advanced machineries, what farmer did, they leveled the land. So whatever Port Kharab land available in the command area, it is leveled and it is brought under cultivation. So gross command area, part of that is brought under irrigation. So our culturable command area is increased. And then we have a concept known as a irrigable command area. So generally CCA is 80% of the GCA, and ICA is again 80% of the CCA. So if there is 100 hectares of land in a command area, so water planning is done in such a way that only 64 hectares will be irrigated. But because of the advancement of the irrigation, farmers are irrigating 100 hectares. So water planning is meant for 64 hectares, water use is for 100 hectares. So this creates a problem in irrigation scheduling as well as irrigation management. Then, as I mentioned, there is the issue of design capacity of canal. Earlier, many uses of canal water is not anticipated, but many industries, the corporations, or many towns, they are using canal as a source for their water, and because of this, there is inadequate capacity of canal. Then maintenance of canal is an issue. Water user association, there are the great water user association working in this field, as well as there are very immature water user association. So there are outlets on both the side. There is a excellence as well as there is a poor performance of WA, and there is a social as well as political pressure. Then there is a issue of sectoral allocation. So whatever challenges we are facing, water is being shifted from irrigation to non-irrigation. This is sector allocation is a very big concern, and in future this will be a very huge concern for us. Then issues in project planning, having many dams and many canals. For example, as we discussed in IRRA system, Khadapasla system, we have number of dams, and on each dam there are different entitlement, there is a different need, and there is different demand. Then as per MWRA, the equitable water distribution is a principle. So this is very important. Then unauthorized or supported illegal water use. So many farmers lift water from reservoir as well as from canal, and this hampers our irrigation schedule and manpower crunch. So department is presently operating with only 25 to 30% of the strength. So manpower crunch is a very critical issue. And I think that's all. I stop here, and thank you for giving me this opportunity. If you have any question, we will discuss this. Sadgir sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this nice presentation and elaborative details about these water use and the various water availability in Maharashtra. People are aware about that, but the in-depth knowledge is given by you about that. So I would like to request our Honorable Chairman Bhujbal sir to comment or to share his some views on these particular topic. Bhujbal sir. I think Bhujbal sir is not there. Mahulkar sir, you would like to comment something or you want to talk? Mahulkar sir? Okay.
Mahulkar sir has raised his hand.
अच्छा, he is not.
हा कोले साहेब एक दोन प्रश्न विचारायचे होते आपल्याला. My very first question is that your main concentration, of course, was the other side of the hills.
Hello. Mahulkar sir, you are not audible. Hello. Hello.
How will you be sorting out this issue? This is my first question.
Sir, sorry, I missed your voice in between.
Sir, your voice was not audible. You kindly repeat the question now. Mahulkar sir. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now we
Hello.
we are able to hear you, sir.
Yeah.
So please repeat
My
your
first question. I don't. Yeah.
Hello.
Lost your voice.
Hello. Or Mahulkar sir, you can write down in the chat box so that I can ask that question.
I think there is a range problem.
Yeah, maybe. So if any other person, any other participant want to ask any question, it's most welcome. Kote madam, you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is about the dams. As you said, as you mentioned, floods was not a concern during planning stage, during the planning of the dams. But then for the last decade or more, we see because of the climate change, there's a different pattern. There's a chaos in the rainfall pattern. So how the existing dams modified or the pattern, what to say, as we stage?
Yes, thank you, ma'am. This is very important concern. And say in the last year, we had experienced a very huge flood in Sangli as well as in Kolhapur area.
Yes,
And
sir.
on this flood, government constituted a committee under chairmanship of Sri Nanda Kumar Vadnere sir. And this committee had given a very nice report, which is also available on WRD website. And in this report, the analysis is carried out by the ISRO, Yamarsec, then IMD, and Water Resource Department. And all these analyses are mentioned. And so this report has two parts. First part, it gives a reason for flood, why flood occurs. And in the second part, they had given some recommendations. So the analysis of flood was a theoretical part, but most important and very difficult part is the implementation of that recommendation. So what they had recommended, so they recommended the increasing the flood pocket by appropriate reservoir operation scheduling, then enhance flood the uh, the more appropriate anticipation of the rainfall as well as flood. So IMD is giving a very rough idea about the rainfall, and that is very vague, as well as that is not a precise or dedicated for a dam. So they, in their warning, they said that Pune region will experience a very severe or very more severe flood rainfall during this period. But in order to take a decision regarding flood management, dam operator has to know exact quantum of rainfall that will occur after exact quantum of time. So IMD is working on that. So the flood monitoring system as well as real-time decision support is being implemented and being recommended by this committee. Third alternative, which is very difficult to execute, is a construction of additional dams, flood storage dam on the upper side of the Sahyadri Valley. But because of the there are number of issues such as environment, forest, and land acquisition, it is very difficult to implement that. So this report, and then this is a the supply side solutions. On the other side, the capacity of river is very low. Carrying capacity of river is very low because of the encroachment.
Yes.
So the maintenance of the natural river stream is very important, and for that they had proposed very strict legal measures in the report. And it is responsibility of revenue department as well as a local self government in order to protect the flood lines. So that is also recommended. And then in particularly for Krishna River, there are menderings. So river flows in a mender. So they suggested to carry out desilting as well as strengthening the mendering after carrying out the analysis by CWPRS. So I think these are the important measures which are proposed by the committee.
Yeah. So the more focus is on the management of the floods rather
Yes.
than changes made to the dams as such.
Because what happened, ma'am, it is very difficult to make a structural change in any of the dam, because as we see the example of Koyna Dam. So if we want to modify the spillway, it becomes a very big proposal, because these dams are having age more than 50 years. So Bhadgar Dam has age more than 100 years.
Yes.
So it is very technically it is very difficult. So they had not proposed any structural changes to this dam. But of course, this can be a alternative.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bhujbal sir, can you share some idea, your views on this particular topic?
Actually, see, I would like to know about the new development which is being taken place in irrigation, yeah, WRD. There is pipe distribution system. At some places it is being done. So I would like to know how they are going to go about that and what is the status.
So, sir, government started. There are two types of pipe distribution network. First, uh, the execution of pipe distribution network on the project where canal distribution is not done. So that is a one segment. And second, conversion of existing canal network into pipe network. So because of the funding requirement and there are many administrative issues, so currently department has focused the pipe distribution network on the project where canals are not constructed. So in terms of MKVDC region, so we have PDN, we are implementing PDN in case of Gundavani project, which will irrigate about 22,000 hectare area in Purandar Tahsil, Purandar Bhor Velle Tahsil. And we had implemented this PDN very successfully and which is operational at Tembu irrigation project. So it is a lift irrigation project and it is some part of the system. So this is a mixed system. In case of Gunjavani project, the entire distribution network from main canal to the field channel, entire system will be constructed in the pipe network. Whereas in terms of Tembu irrigation system, it is a mixed system. It will have some open canals and some part is connected through the pipes. So there is experience in the department and this is a some field and there are many issues in the execution, but department is tackling on that issues.
Sir, in this pipe distribution network, any special we can say focus on the water quality is given, or because nowadays if you would talk about the Ujni Dam or the Jayakwadi Dam, the water quality of that particular water is somewhat questionable
Yes,
due to the discharge of all the untreated or partially treated sewage.
correct.
Uh,
So at present, when there is a mixed system, when water is released from the dam and there is a no pre-treatment given to the water, so we construct some silt arresting pots or some trash racks are provided, which will arrest some part of the debris. But as far as water quality is concerned, and for a project like Uzni, even though MWRRA has directed that Uzni should be converted from open canal to the pipe distribution network, we had not taken that project on in our hand. So, but this quality is an important concern because, for example, in case of Gunjavani project, water is being supplied through micro irrigation, and when if water has impurities, which will ultimately block the filtration and the drip unit.
definitely.
Yeah, so it will hamper the irrigation as well as it will cost to a farmer. So in case of Gunjavani project, it is considered, but in case of other project, it is under planning stage.
So in the planning stage, if we are able to give this some focus on the water quality of the dam in the dam itself. So before supply, if because it is the new approach for this particular, because water resources department is not having done anywhere like this one. But now I think if they are thinking about the pipe distribution, pipe network distribution, they have to rethink about these water quality aspect also, and about the treatment also. What is requirement as per the for the agricultural norms?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
So this is my opinion.
Regarding pipe distribution network, what is the response of farmers to such new concept?
Very
Acceptably.
Yes, yes. So there is a mixed response because in some part when it is announced that water will be supplied through PDN. So the first thing what happens, so many farmers which are not in the command area, they get water from percolation.
Yeah.
So they are deprived from that right. So there is a opposition from that segment of the farmers community. But on the other hand, where in case of Tembu irrigation project, so where we are supplying water, that area is already drought prone area. So and those people are paying the price of water, which is lifted at the lifting point. So they are concerned with the conveyance losses. And second thing, in case of pipe distribution network, so the water is released to the farmer who had paid the water charges. So entitlement can be ensured. But in case of open canal, it is very difficult to ensure the water network. So on one side, we received very good response from the farmer, but there are some farmers who are also opposing the this policy.
Actually, I was about to say, in lift irrigation projects, pipe distribution network should be compulsory.
Correct.
It will be a crime otherwise, because
Correct.
it is per liter per cubic meter cost of pumping the water is might be very huge. 20, 30. I don't know what is 30 rupees or 20 rupees.
In case of we have Janai Sirsai lift irrigation scheme in Pune district itself, in Baramati and Down Taluka. So this scheme irrigate about 15,000 hectare of area. And if we had given a proposal to government, because this is a lift irrigation scheme, and Khadakwasla main canal is a source for this lift irrigation. So because of the increased non-irrigation water use, allotted water for this Janai Sirsai project is 3.6 TMC. But rarely they will get water more than 1.5 TMC. So we had proposed a solution that we will convert entire system into canal irrigation, into open canal to the PDN, but it cost is about 450 crores, because entire area, and also there is a issue about the accounting issue, because since we are working in the government, so first question we have to answer is to who will bear the cost incurred for the construction of open canals. So there is a two issues. First, the raising the fund for new construction as well as the जो खर्च झाला त्याला समापित करायचं. तर हे दोन where I have conflict on these two issues.
How it is
Lift irrigation scheme is a prime focus, should be a prime focus for the department.
how
Yes,
it is impacted on the benefit cost ratio? I think it is improved one
Yes, definitely, sir.
in the pipe network, because previously there is collection of the revenue from the farmers is one of the difficult tasks for the WRD officials. But in this particular pipe network, it will definitely
Correct, sir. Correct.
experience in that case.
Sir, in case of pipe distribution network, the what happens, but the whatever water is saved, there are twofold advantages. First, saving in the cost of construction, and because when canal is not constructed, and if we construct a pipe distribution network, the land acquisition cost is not an issue for department.
Yeah.
So for PDN, we do not pay compensation for land. We pay compensation only for the standing crops.
Yeah.
So land acquisition cost is a huge saving. In case of Tembu irrigation project, about 600 crores is saved because of land acquisition. And second advantage is saving in water, as I explained in the one of the slide. So our project efficiency increases from about 34% to 90%. So because of this saving, we can irrigate more area, or we can supply water to the cash crops. So farmer will also benefit from this. So this is the, and third advantage is from department side. So water management becomes very easy.
Actually, Sadhguru sir, we can have a separate lecture on pipe distribution network.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. If there is no other questions, I will request Kote madam to propose the vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. No questions, I think. Yeah, no questions in the chat box also. So on behalf of IWWA, I would like first of all to thank our Honorable Praveen Kole sir, who is a Superintendent Engineer in Water Resource Department, Pune Circle, for sparing his valuable time and giving an excellent, not only presentation, but excellent slides for giving us the details of the principles of water management as far as water management in Maharashtra. So he has given us the interesting facts like the water availability is equivalent the areas, the population, which are equivalent to the countries like Italy and Mexico and UAE and so on. So it made the presentation very interesting. Also, he has highlighted the disparity in the number of dams that are constructed in Maharashtra and the irrigated areas. So there's a big disparity, and then there are plans to solve them using this new management practices in Maharashtra. So at the outset, I would like to thank him. And also I would like to thank Engineer S.B. Bhujbal, who is the Chief Engineer MJP and the Chairman of IWWA for his motivation to arrange these lectures or sessions for the benefit of the members of IWWA as well as the other people in the society. Then I would like to thank Engineer Dayanand Panse sir, who is the Vice Chairman of IWWA, and Engineer Pate, who is the Honorable Secretary of this association, and Dr. Sadgir for taking the lead in arranging such good expert lectures. And not only the members, I also thank the members, all the members who are present here for the webinar, and behind the curtains, Mr. Engineer Rishikesh Kaluskar and Vishwesh Nampurkar. So everybody has done their jobs and to make this webinar a success. And also I would like to thank Engineer Mahulkar sir and all the senior members and all the members who are present for the webinar. So with the kind permission of the chairman, I would like to declare this session is today's event is over.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah,
Thank
you. Sir.
you.
So
Thank
with
you.
the permission of
Thank
the
you.
chairman, we will conclude these
Thank you.
particular events. Thank you.
Right. Thanks.